morning, ladies and gentlemen, and I would like to say, for the first time in my life, Namaste. I'm English, and I mustn't hit the microphone. And so I'm going to start in a very English way. I'm going to tell you a fairy story. And English fairy stories always start off once upon a time. Once upon a time, there was a little boy, and his name was Simiso. And at the age of 8, this little boy, who lived in the township of Soweto in South Africa, and came from what we would consider a very poor family, complete unemployment, 4 brothers and sisters, and sadly, his elder brother, a drug addict. He slept with his elder brother on a mattress on the only living room floor, knew at the age of 8, with no adult input, no help from his parents, who possibly didn't even know what a violin was, knew that he wanted to learn the violin. So he took himself off to a music project, a local music project in this little suburb of Soweto called Diepkloof. After a year, somehow or other, he knew, again with no adult input, that he wasn't getting a very good deal. So he left that project and brought himself to another project. And another interesting ingredient to this story is that the second violin lesson he had at the second project happened to have been videoed.
So, and he's been here. When did you come, Sumiso? Was it about a week ago?
Yes.
Okay. And you're going to play me something. Okay, well that's better than it was when you first played it to me.
Now we're going to go very quickly to the next chapter of this fairy story, but I just need to tell you in between that if you didn't know this, when you learn a stringed instrument, if you want people to pay to hear you rather than be paid to listen to you because it's so dreadful, you need at least between 12 and 16 years of very, very expert tuition, and you need, as a child, to put in literally thousands and thousands of hours of practice. Here's the next chapter. Now that 10 years elapsed between the first and the second, and we're not talking about just the quality of the playing, we're talking about the personality of the child. It's quite obvious, I don't have to go into that in much detail. And the next chapter, which is ongoing in this story, is that young man, and by the way, that was videoed in 2010, and the first clip was in 1999, that young man is now studying at one of the most prestigious music colleges in the world. He's at the Royal Academy of Music in London in his second year, having just gained a distinction in his first. So how did the miracle happen? Well, had Simiso come and asked me, because I think you probably guessed a bit of this story now, haven't you, the fairy story. I'm the fairy godmother, I'm not the wicked witch. If he had come a couple of years previously, in 1997, he would have been crowded into this little room with 15 children, which is how it all started in a priest's house. Very, very difficult. Many challenges. Challenge number one was space. And in any case, this was 1997, and the intention was that I, as a British musician, would go there for a year, try and pull this thing together. But two things. One was space, and the other was this. What I didn't really realize, 3 years after democracy was established in South Africa, I was trying to get white South African musicians to come down and assist me and help me, and it was a no-no, because there was, and there still is, the perception that the moment you, as a white South African, went into a township, any township in South Africa, you would have a bullet through your head, or if you were lucky, it would just be your car that would disappear. I will add to this as a postscript, I've been doing this for 15 years, and I think I'm still here. I don't want to test fate, but still. But at that moment, or within the next 2 years, because then I realized I was a little bit stuck with this thing, two things happened. One was a number of friends and trusts and companies in South Africa got together, and we, miracle of miracles, built a music school. Here it is. We're still here today. About the same time, out of the blue, a cello and bass teacher, white South African, came to help me. Her name is Sonia Bass, and she's still there. So she and I are the only white teachers. There were 35 children by this stage, and I will also tell you that in this whole time that I've been there, literally thousands of children have come and asked for violin lessons. And obviously we haven't sadly been able to accept them, but we do have over 100 children at the moment coming to our music school. So here were Sonia and I, settled in our new music school, but these kids were coming all the time. Couldn't get teachers to come down from Johannesburg. So we put our heads together and we came up with a very obvious solution. And the solution was ask the children themselves. Now, all the senior students were still at school. So we went to them with a deal, and we said, okay, this was very bright. We'll teach you a skill, a very sophisticated skill, which is how to teach stringed instruments in the very specific method that we were using, which has been very successful. And in return, please, would you like to come and help us teach? And they were overjoyed. They loved it. And as of today, a group of those young people are now salaried teachers, and I can tell you, and I've said this all over the world, I can say with confidence that they are amongst some of the best string teachers in the world. Now, one thing that changed was that instead of just teaching the older ones to teach, now we encourage every child, unless they're a very beginner, and we have strata of classes. So the very beginners obviously can't teach themselves, but the next level up helps. When you see the next video, you'll see all sorts of sizes of children helping other children.
All the way up to the top. Make sure you can see underneath. So can I how?
So that is how the young man that I started the fairy story with started and learnt the violin at Buscade. But you see, Buscade is not just obviously about teaching the violin, viola, cello, and double bass. It's far more than that. This music school is a haven. It's a safe place where children, and many, many children who come to Buscade come from very, very difficult circumstances. Not all of them, but most of them have some sort of problem at home. And we find ourselves involved in helping in psychiatric help, in medical help. If there's a bereavement, and there are very many bereavements, I'm afraid, in Soweto, children come, this is where they seek comfort. Because music, of course, is a wonderful tool for social upliftment. If you know about the Mozart effect, very briefly, the Mozart effect has been, it's a proven fact that teaching children classical music, and I'm sure it's exactly the same whether it's European or Indian classical music, actually assists them with all sorts of other aspects of their lives, including, of course, discipline, living in a community, and their academic work. So this is not just about teaching, it's not just about social upliftment, because social upliftment and standards of excellence...
It became more like a community project, and people requested for...
Out of this project, we have created the Buscade Soweto String Ensemble. And this ensemble, which consists of about 25 young people, the best, the cream of the group that everybody wants to get into, has toured the world. We've been to 21 countries since 1999, giving concerts. We've been to Colombia, to Syria, to New Zealand, to Europe, to America, and maybe one day we'll come here. Wouldn't that be amazing? And one aspect which makes this unique, because we play mainly classical music, a little bit of pop, a little bit of crossover, is that these talented young people actually compose or arrange their own local township music, whether it's called Kwela, it's very vibey, or gospel, which is derived from church music. And as you see, this is not like a normal classical concert. We're going to just see a tiny bit of Buscade Soweto String Ensemble doing its thing at the end of a concert, playing gospel. Now, I'm going to end this little talk with a video which shows Buscade playing at the BBC Promenade concert in London, which was a huge privilege for us. We were invited to go and play in the Royal Albert Hall in London in 2007, and shortly after that, we were named as one of the 12 most inspirational orchestras in the world. You'll see Buscade. Thank you. You'll see Buscade playing in the Royal Albert Hall we're playing French Baroque music, and we've got another project, African dancers dancing with us. As I walk off stage, I want to say something. The ingredients are energy, ambition, obstinacy, being prepared to see, and it's taken me a long time to realize this, that a challenge always turns into a miracle, always turns into a miracle. Music, which is the biggest inspiration, and even greater than that, these wonderful children. I know, because I've been here 3 days, and I've seen all those things in spades in this wonderful country. It can happen all over the world. It can happen here. Thank you very much indeed.